One day, while trying to come up with a new superhero, Stan Lee notices a fly crawling along a wall. He thought it would be cool if he could get a hero that could stick to walls and crawl on them. So after going through a list of names, Lee finally decided on the name Spider-Man. Stan told his ideas to his publisher Martin Goodwin, who easily dismissed them because a teenager is a sidekick, not a superhero, and B, who wants to read about a superhero with normal regular problems? To the publisher, that wasn't that interesting, but Stan stuck to his guns. And in June of 1962, along with Steve Ditko, created and released a superhero that would become Marvel's flagship character and a cultural phenomenon. In this episode of Tony's Comic Spotlight, the spotlight shines on the first appearance of Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy number 15 from 1962. Story number 1, Spider-Man. A shy, unassuming high school student, Peter Parker, prefers the company of his teachers to that of his classmates, who call him Midtown High's only professional wallflower. His only living relatives, Uncle Ben and Aunt May, think the world of him. One evening, while attending a demonstration of radioactivity at General Tektronix Laboratories East, Parker fails to notice a spider drop through a radioactive ray and receive a massive dose of radiation. It bites him and dies. Light-headed, Parker leaves the demonstration, only to be nearly run over by a car. He leaps to safety, but is surprised to find he has jumped much farther than intended. He lands on the side of a building and clings to the bricks by his fingertips. He quickly climbs to the roof and once there accidentally crumples a steel pipe in his hand. He believes that he has inherited the spider's speed, strength, and climbing ability. He begins to ponder the possibilities. Shortly thereafter, Parker sees a wrestling ring and a sign, $100 to the man who will stay in the ring 3 minutes with Crusher Hogan. He goes home, changes, puts on a hood, and returns to the ring. Hogan laughingly calls Parker the Masked Marvel, but Parker lifts Hogan over his head and carries him up a post. Afterwards, a man in the crowd introduces himself to Parker as a television producer, encourages him to go into show business, and gives him his card. At home, Parker makes himself a spider-themed costume, a supply of sticky web fluid, and 2 jets for his wrist that can shoot the fluid. Here comes the Spider-Man, he says. The Spider-Man appears on television and becomes a celebrity. One evening, he goes backstage and finds a guard chasing a thief. Spider-Man lets the thief escape, and when the guard complains, tells him, "That's your job. I'm through being pushed around by anyone." Some days later, Parker returns home and learns from a policeman that a burglar has killed his Uncle Ben. The police have cornered the man in the deserted Acme warehouse. Parker dons his costume and swings to the scene. Once inside, he frightens the man by crawling down the wall toward him. Parker then covers his gun hand with web fluid and knocks him unconscious. When he sees the man's face, he recognizes the thief who got away at the studio. He wraps the burglar in webbing and leaves him for the police to find. Shocked, Peter realizes that if he had caught the burglar, his Uncle Ben would still be alive. He eventually learns that with great power there must also come great responsibility. The end. Story number 2, The Bell Ringer, by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. On a small Mediterranean island of fisherfolk, Old Pedros is the town bell ringer. One day, the volcano atop the island begins to erupt. The villagers evacuate and put out to sea. Old Pedros, though, stays at the church. The bells must be rung, he tells himself. Someone will hear. For centuries, someone has always heard. Molten rock streams toward the church before it reaches Old Pedros. A ray of sunlight surrounds him. The superstitious villagers swear they saw him ride the ray into the sky. Did their eyes play tricks on them, or did someone hear the bells? Story number 3, Man in the Mummy Case. Rocco Rank, a career criminal, breaks into the museum to escape a policeman. While he looks for a hiding place, he hears a mummy's voice promising to protect him from the police. All he has to do is lie in the sarcophagus. The mummy reassures Rank that he will not suffocate or become another mummy. Rank finally agrees and gets into the sarcophagus, which the mummy shuts. The policeman doubles back, finds a broken window, and searches the room. The mummy is motionless and the sarcophagus is empty, so he leaves. Rank is safe from the police, but however, he has become a slave building the pyramids. Story number 4, There Are Martians Among Us, written by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. The discovery of a crashed flying saucer frightens the small town, especially when the townspeople realize that the Martians are among them. A month goes by, the aliens still at large. A man leaves for the city and tells his wife to stay in the house where she is safe. Later that day, though, she has to go to the store for coffee. On her way home, she is captured. When her husband gets home and finds her missing, he makes a desperate phone call to another Martian who, like him, must have 4 arms. Here's a little bit of trivia that I thought was interesting about things that led up to the creation of Amazing Fantasy 15 and some stuff about the book itself. Now, time they were working on Amazing Fantasy 15, the publisher Martin Goodwin thought that the idea of the Spider-Man character would be a flop, so he gave the last issue of Amazing Fantasy to Stan and them to put this character in there. He figured it'd be a one and done, and that series was headed for cancellation anyway due to lackluster sales. So they put him in the 15th issue of Amazing Fantasy, and Spider-Man just caught on, leading to his own series later on. The cover ultimately published for Amazing Fantasy Volume 1, number 15, was not the one originally planned. Originally, Steve Ditko both penciled and inked the cover, but at the last minute, Stan Lee decided to have Jack Kirby come in and redo it. The experiments in radioactivity exhibit where Peter got his spider bite was in room 30 of the Science Hall. The final story in this issue, There Are Martians Among Us, was inspired by an episode of Rod Sterling's The Twilight Zone entitled Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up?, which originally aired on May 26, 1961. Both stories feature a Martian ship crash landing on Earth and a search by police for its occupant, who is blended in with humans by wearing a large coat to disguise the fact that they have multiple arms, 3 in the TV episode, 4 in Stan Lee's story. It was also revealed in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, Number 1, that Peter was not the only one to get bitten by the radioactive spider. A young student by the name of Cindy Moon was also bitten and sometime later went into hiding for some reasons. We'd later find out when she became Silk. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse into Amazing Fantasy 15 featuring the creation of Spider-Man. I really enjoyed doing this one. Coming up in the next week, on Tuesday, I'm going to do a Tony's Top 10. Haven't decided what it's going to be yet. And then next week, I forgot what day it is, but one day next week is the 84th anniversary of the first appearance of Batman. So the next Tony's Comics Spotlight is going to feature Detective Comics number 27. So that should be pretty cool. And it should be out next Friday or Saturday as well. If you're enjoying the content, please give us a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching the video, all the videos. It really does mean a lot to me. In the description of this video, I'm going to leave some links for some other YouTube content creators that you should give a like and a sub as well, because they make awesome content. And until next time, I'll see you later. Take care. God bless. Later.